All right, so I wanted to do some podcast style recordings for you. The last live video I did got a pretty good response. So as you're sitting in your office on a Monday or Tuesday morning, you can grab my Sunday conversation here and sort of listen as you're wanting to be in your shop like I am most days. The first one I wanted to do here was on designing your own guitar. I think that's a huge step for luthiers or sort of wannabe builders. How do you get from doing the standard stuff into your own design? Some of you will never want to, some of you want to a lot. And getting into design is a completely different type of mindset. It's something that I've struggled with throughout the years. I like the standard traditional guitars and I just want them built by myself. I've tried a couple of different designs that we'll walk through here, but in the end, it's a huge leap for you guys to get out and do your own designs. You guys helped me out significantly with my headstocks maybe about a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever that was, and we designed sort of a B embedded into my headstock for the whiskey barrel guitars. Like I said before, that was a huge step for me, and I really like that look, and I'm actually pretty proud of it. So getting to that point for you guys is sort of a huge step, and it's really a great way to sort of expand your mind to some degree. So before we start talking about design, I just want to talk a little bit about the history of the guitar, violin, string instruments, and how that sort of parlayed into the guitar design that we have today. If you think about it, the square area of a guitar hasn't changed all that much. And if you're dealing with a box this size, there's only so much you can do essentially within that box. And that box is constrained to your body shape, your body size. So there's not a whole lot that you can do. And I think that's one of the misconceptions with shapes and designs is that this one is so much more radical than the next one. If you just look at the surface area, it's really hard to say that this one is significantly different than that one. There are design elements that are common across a lot of guitars, and that's for specific reasons. We'll start with my arch top here. And I don't play this as much as I should, and it doesn't even have all of its strings. But if you think of the antique violins from back in the day, they all had a smaller upper bout and a lower bottom bout. And if you're playing, you have more surface area up here. The wood also resonates different across the soundboard here. So the larger soundboard get more projection, more volume out of it. And over the years, as guys refined and refined, you've kind of got to the shape where top out, bottom bout, curved in. With the violins, you had the top bout, and then you had the other piece that was curved in, and then the bottom bout. It was easier to make things that way using the pieces than actually trying to carve or bend this one piece. So that's kind of how we got to this type of design that we're at today. This is a Super 400 Gibson design in terms of the shape. It's a wide body arch top. I built this guitar years ago. It's in one of my videos before I was even doing YouTube. I did a lot of pictures with it. You can find that in the link below. But this was sort of the start, and as we got smaller into guitars, if you look at a Tele, this is a Tele template. It's not too terribly different. I mean, if you really think about it. You got a smaller top bout, a larger bottom bout, a horn, and it's not that terribly different. Now, if you look at a Les Paul template, again, smaller bottom bout, or smaller top bout, lower bottom bout that's bigger. And a lot of those guitars, in terms of square area, are very similar. Even if you hold a Tele up to a Les Paul, find the center lines here. Yeah, it's different, but the square area that's going to fit as you're playing isn't all that different. And so you're really constrained to what you can hold as you're playing. So that's sort of the two most popular styles. And as people started to branch out, let's go to a Strat body. You get a little bit different now. So you got that upper top bout sticking out further, bigger horns, but you still got that bottom bout. The Strat was definitely groundbreaking in that sense, because now you've got this upper bout, the double cutaway, and you've got the SG, Paul Reed Smith, other folks that sort of have that double cutaway look. An interesting thing about that is if you look at the Merle Travis and the SG, if you flip the Merle Travis guitar over on each side, that's an SG. But there's only so much you can do within that, let's say, 13 by 20 inches. And so as I've designed some of my own guitars, I've always sort of started with this type of shape, in the sense that it's very comfortable for me to play. I enjoy playing this shape a lot. It fits my body type. You know, I've cut it out for my belly. I've done the cutouts for my arm as well. But that's essentially the basic shape you're going to start with, and you can kind of go from there. So my first fully designed guitar was my second guitar. And my second guitar was a disaster. Design-wise, it wasn't too bad, but build-wise, it was terrible. This is it. This was my second guitar I ever built. It's falling apart now. It's almost 20 years old. I use it to test pickups, and I've got a set of strings. But one of my favorite guitars when I was younger was a Washburn A20V. I loved the shape. I loved how it felt in my arm. I had 3 of them at one point, and that's what this bottom cutout is. I like the way it sits. I like the curvature. I do play a lot of guitars sitting down. So for me, that was comfortable. One of the design flaws I had here was this sort of X shape dug into me as I was playing. And so what I did, I had it like that. I rounded it off and sealed it, and it became a lot more comfortable. I then took that body shape to the headstock shape. And what I should have done is a tilt back, but I sort of did the Fender a la cutback. And if I had done the tilt back, it would have been significantly better than this. This is just poorly done. Hence it was my second guitar, but this was my first fully designed guitar by myself. I haven't rebuilt this style. I think it needs a little bit more refinement down here, a little bit of a cleaner cutoff. And I'll get back to it once I get some more time. But this was my first fully designed guitar by myself, and I think I made a couple of bodies like this. I can't remember if there's anybody in eBay land from my early days that bought a couple of these. So as you're designing, stay within that template, that sort of 13 by 20-ish template. I've been playing around with a lot of different designs. This was probably 7 years in. This was a custom design that I had done. Essentially, I took the curves of a telly and I made them harder of a cutout. And then instead of using the little hoo-ah up here, I just brought that over. So you can see the telly part here and how that lines up. Pretty close. But you can see the back side here of how I just rounded off those sides and straighten out the curve. So that was probably, I don't know, 7-8 years ago I was playing with that. I guess it was 2010, so maybe even longer. I've played with some other sort of freeware designs. This I found on a website. Can't remember where it was. This was cool. I made a couple of bodies like this, but it was too small. This was too small for me. It just, if I blew this out a little bigger, it would be better. My most recent is this design, which was trying to sort of extend out the cutout. The problem I have is it looks terrible. I thought I was taking this curve over and sort of widening it down. I needed to do something different. It looked okay in easel, which is my CNC machine. I do some designing in that and sort of drag and pull some of the stuff off. This is a better curve from before. This might stick out slightly, but what I wanted to do is be able to balance the guitar on the table kind of like that, and it would run flat. But I still need to do some refinement on this design. It's not doing it. So my recommendation to you as you guys start designing is to start with that telly shape. Get a set of French curves. Get a bunch of poster board from Walgreens or Walmart or whatever, and begin to sort of sketch out and draw things out with a pencil. And what I like to do with the pencil is sort of do that sweeping motion. So you grab a pencil and you kind of take your arm and you pivot and you begin to extend the lines out further and then bring them back, erase them, do it back. I'm just not a designer, and so I struggle with getting things sort of in my head onto a piece of paper. I can't draw at all. And so the French curves really help do that in terms of different looks, nooks and crannies. When I've had to do some special designs for guys, I always pull these out. These are great, valuable tools to sort of learn how is this supposed to look, what am I trying to do. These are great tools. So what you want to do is get some poster board, sort of sketch out the size of a guitar body, and then begin to play. One of the things you want to avoid are really pointy guitars, are terrible. Wood does not like to stay all that together when you get to that end grain. So imagine if this was a real pointy guitar, the further you go out, and if you drop it, that's going to crack. You at least want 1.5 inches, 2 inches as you bring something to a tip. I've seen lots of guitars chip and chunk out when you get really thin, skinny pieces. Grab my V here. This is my flying V. And since I play guitar sitting down a lot, this is one of the worst guitars to play sitting down. You just can't. It will eventually just continue to slide down. Gibson puts like a rubber sort of something on here that at least holds it. But if you look at the modern, Gibson Modern, looked like a V on the top, but on the bottom just rounded it. So at least if you're sitting and playing, it doesn't move. And so as cool and awesome and as unique as these designs are, not playable if you're sitting down. And I play a lot of guitar sitting down, so I actually don't use this one as much as I should. Just doesn't do it. And you can always put it between your leg, but then your arm is out, kind of floating around out there. That's not ideal for me. But doing the poster board, doing the pencil, doing the French curves is a way to design a guitar body without actually cutting the wood out. Once you get the poster board set and the way you like it, what you can do is then glue that to a piece of wood, cut it off a piece of wood, and then sand it, route it, see what you think as you sort of bring it down. You can also then take the pickups and the configuration of that onto your poster board and just play. The big thing with designing your own guitar body is you have to play, and you have to play a lot. One of the cooler things I did with my headstock is I traced it out on a piece of paper, went to work, made 50 copies, and then I just started cutting them out and drawing them out a bunch of different ways to see which one I liked, which one I didn't like. I still think there's a cool design coming with sort of like a gun headstock. I know I'll get crucified for that from some people, but I still think that shape just sort of fits. I mean, you've got that, sort of shape. So drop this back. If you look at the Explorer, again, significantly different body shape. This one sits nicely as you're sitting down. I do like having the hand to sort of brace you as you're playing. This really fits my playing style, the way I play. I like having that sort of rest. That's why I like the Washburn A20V. If we go into Inventables here, you can see some of the design I'm playing with. This is a body style that I know I've seen something sort of Jackson-ish here. But I love that sort of car fender back end. Justin Johnson has a builder who built him a sort of custom Fender guitar with a light on the back, and I thought that was the coolest style. So as I played around with my design, I still have got that upper bout that is a little bit more comfortable and rounded for me. And then I took that lower bottom belt and I just carried it through, and then I had this sort of shark fin in my head and just carried that down flat. As I was playing on the wood itself, I started drawing sort of like another line. And what this ends up looking like is sort of your little black dress. At least that's what I have in my head to some degree. It's got sort of that 80s style. It wasn't meant to be 80s. It just sort of turned out that way. One of the things I'm struggling with a little bit is I think the guitar sticks out too far on the top from the center line than it does from the bottom line. I just think it looks off slightly. So I still got to play with it a little bit. It's still sort of in process, as you can see. But if I grab and edit it, I can go in here and just begin to play with the design. This is what's really cool about some of the design tools that are out there today, is you can grab and drag and move this stuff, and you don't have to do it on paper. The problem I have is that it doesn't always transfer then to paper like my other white ones sitting here. So I would say, play with pen and paper, pencil and paper, get the French curves, draw some of this stuff off, and begin to erase. What I like to do is shade an area and then begin to just sort of erase it to make it larger or smaller. And until you actually get something in your hands, you're not really sure on how it's going to look, how it's going to feel. Is this the right design? Is this not the right design? So that's my process for designing a guitar body. It's taken me a while to kind of figure out how to do that. I think I did not have any sort of drawing background. My background is in analytics and programming, and transferring to design and feel and more art is not me. I'm really good at doing colored tops for some reason. That's something that I picked up with the Angelus dyes and the fading. I've got a little bit of a knack for that. But in terms of then translating into designs and headstock designs, that's just not something I'm great at. One of the cool things you can find on the internet are the different body shapes. There's a lot of different graphs of pointier guitars and more rounded guitars. You can print all this stuff off and sort of look through how you're going to design and what features do you like, what features don't you like. The Parker Fly guitar from many years ago had a really interesting design and sort of cut out on that upper horn. And so take the guitars you like to play, start with those and begin to modify them. And you're building for yourself. I started building for myself before I got to a specific product line. I just like to just play. And you can take a standard guitar, body shape, drop it onto poster board, draw some lines, you begin to just modify it enough. And if you're doing it for yourself, it's your guitar. My channel's all about building guitars for yourself. It's fun. That's the whole point of doing this stuff. So that's my podcast for today, guys. About 20 minutes, 25 minutes of me rambling on guitar design, my process, not being a designer. Hopefully it helps you in what you're trying to do with your guitars. Drop a note. Let me know if you like this format. If you want to see this more for Sunday Conversations, I will be doing more live videos as well. You guys reacted well to that. I'll do a little bit better notifications on me going live and getting you the right information. But thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.